solidified, I think, his place in the dressing room. I think there's a comfort factor that takes a little bit of time.
Two Guys and a Goalie with Gager, Cassian, and Nielsen. Tuesday and Thursdays at noon, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Friend of EST, Eric Thomas, takes you around the track all the way to the checkered flag on Raceline Radio. Tuesday nights at 8 and Saturday morning at 9, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Don't feel like working? Join the Hangout. You never know what you might hear. Weekday mornings 9 to 11 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Oil Stream.
Last summer on the Oil Stream, you and I discussed the possibility of Gagne coming back here on a PTO. He signed with Winnipeg and got an actual contract.
Anytime you can have Sam Gagne involved in your organization in any way, it's a major positive for you.
They love him.
The Oil Stream with Nielsen and Gazzola. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey. Saturday mornings at 10, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District. Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join friend of EST, Guy Flaming, for the Pipeline Show, Monday nights at 8 and Saturday at noon, as he has you covered with CHL, CJHL, USHL, NAHL, NCAA, and U Sports, plus the World Juniors, Frozen Four, and NHL Draft on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join Murray McCourt and Curtis Stock for tips and tales from courses around Edmonton and area with the VIP Golf Show, presented by the Tailor Made Performance Center at the Ranch. Sundays at 8:30. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, everybody? Dusty and Hus with you on The Lock Shop. Thank you very much for being here. This is the magic of live streaming right now. Maddie, you can slide the music down if you want. There's Hus. What a beauty. The Lock Shop, as always, brought to you by our great partners at Coolbet. Hus, nice little green screen there, my man.
Yeah, that was the green screen. You know, it reminded me of all the green on these settled bets from last night and Monday Night Football. Hell of a night in the Lock Shop. But, yeah, I was doing some stuff for WST, and we got going on. I'm like, it's not supposed to look that way. So, hey, quick turnaround. But, yeah, I mean, listen, couple nice, fun games last night. Pretty harsh backdoor push by the Panthers.
That's a greasy push, buddy. That was frustrating for me. I mean, you were on the Steelers, so you got that one anyway. But for us on the Browns, I really wanted to get that Saints one too, and that was, yeah. It happens, man. It happens. What else are you supposed to say, right?
I'll be honest. I mean, I'm like, oh, that sucks. It was a push. But again, I'm still not over Sean McVay's freaking field goal on Sunday. So, I mean, that's just like a 3 out of 10 compared to what McVay did to everybody. You know, it's been funny. I was listening to a couple podcasts, and one of them was one of them, they were recording live at the end of those games. And one of the guys on the show had the Niners and had basically put it in the win column. And as they were talking, they were, wait a second, what? What the? And then they sort of backed it up. And then they went, well, wait a second. Why would they do that? Went and checked the box score. They said, no, that was the last play of the game. It was, we'll be talking about that one for a while, Dusty. I still can't get over it. But that being said, moved on and had an excellent night last night. And can we just say, from all the lock shoppers out there, shout out to the field goal kickers, because if you want it, I mean, I had the play of the day for the primetime over 3.5 field goals in the late game.
Yep.
If you did it in the early game, you hit that as well. And Patty's field goal frenzy prop at plus 100 for over 6.5 cashed easily last night. So,
man, it sure isn't great in the NFL that we are just always cashing field goal props. You know, like, hey, it's almost a sure thing.
Saints, Carolina, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. I mean, what were we expecting? I'll tell you what I wasn't expecting, but really was the difference in that Pittsburgh game was that Steelers defense. I mean, 2 defensive touchdowns. I mean, Kenny Pickett did not look great. Browns defense is pretty good, but they, I mean, literally, they rode TJ Watt and the boys on the defensive side of the football to that win. And hey, they don't ask how, they just ask how many. And the Steelers got a big win, bouncing back after getting humbled by the Niners in the first week of the year. And I got to give a shout out to Chris Olave.
What a
very
catch.
quiet first half.
Yeah,
very quiet first half. 1 catch for 3 yards. I was a little nervous about the over 69.5, but it came through last night. And yeah, nice way to finish off week number 2, heading into a couple days off of football. Big baseball series tonight, beginning with the Blue Jays and the Yankees. And time for us to kind of look back at the week and reevaluate things.
Man, I've already looked ahead to week 3 lines. I'm going to dive into that a little bit later on in the episode. Just, hey, if you are listening right now at edmontonsportstalk.com and listening live, feel free to hit us up with a text, 780-218-9999. Richard on the YouTube chat already. Good day, gents. Good day to you too, Richard. And Nathan points out that he had, Big Uke had the Steelers for fantasy this week. So Steelers defense.
Steelers D.
That's a league winner right there yesterday.
Steelers D. Well, we got a big Winnipeg Media League here with a bunch of the guys that come on our show regularly. And
do you have Steelers D?
Thoughts and prayers to Mike McIntyre, because the Pat Pack is now 2-0 thanks to the Steelers D last night.
Did you say the Pat Pack?
Pat Pack, yeah.
Brilliant.
First overall.
Brilliant.
First overall. Mahomes.
Superflex?
Yeah, Superflex. So it was nice. 12-team league. And I got Mahomes first. It came back to me and got Amon-Ra St. Brown and Bijan Robinson. Still couldn't believe Robinson was there at that point at the end. So, but again, I'd never been in a Superflex before. I believe 9 or 10 of the first round picks were quarterbacks.
Yeah,
you really
crazy.
do need that. And
Changes
I actually
everything.
ended up picking, I mean, it's a shorter bench, but I just realized the scarcity of the quarterbacks and how important that is. I picked Carr as my second one, but I also picked Baker Mayfield and Kenny Pickett. I'll probably have to drop one of those guys or potentially trade one of them.
I was going to say, do not drop one of those guys.
Yeah.
Trade one of those guys. If you got 4 guys who are going to be starting every single week, man, you should be able to trade one of those guys to a team for like at least an RB2. Man, I wouldn't accept anything less. Like, you should be able to pull the trigger on something of significance there.
Hey, by the way, just while we're talking fantasy, before we get back into everything, I think we saw last night why the running backs want to get paid and they want to get their money. that was just a stomach churner. I mean, Nick Chubb's knee getting essentially disintegrated and his leg going in half. That was really, really ugly. I don't know. Have you heard any official confirmation on what the injury is and how long?
Just that he's out for the season. So,
okay.
But something similar happened when he was in college too, right? I think the same leg. So
yeah,
it's just he was going to roll over all of the props. I mean, he's a monster. Nick Chubb is an absolute freak. It was devastating to see just for his career, let alone the Brown. Now, Ford came in and ended up running for over 100 yards. He'll be waiver wire target number 1 for everybody, obviously. But that was tough to see. But you mentioned the running backs thing. So let's just get to this. And it's the Lock Shop with Nielsen Hustler, brought to you by CoolBet. Visit them at coolbet.com. All of our NFL, anything we're betting here on Edmonton Sports Talk, Winnipeg Sports Talk, it's all done with CoolBet. But so this is running back injuries, Hus. Guys who didn't play in week 2 or were injured in week 2. Saquon ended up getting hurt this week, and he's always hurt. He's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks. We saw what happened with Chubb last night. Aaron Jones didn't play in week 2. Austin Eckler didn't play in week 2. J.K. Dobbins is done for the year. David Montgomery left the game. Like, it's a quarter of the league starting running backs are already out, and it's the end of week 2. It's the day after the end of week 2. It's, to me, I think we always go, oh, but this seems extra harsh this year.
You know what I mean? It's the two sides of the coin. I mean, I just mentioned about how, running backs don't feel that they're being valued properly. They've got the most dangerous position. They take the most hits. They deserve the money. But at the same time, because of that, you need more guys, and you can never count on one guy going forward. So it is a real catch-22. But yeah, let's just say the waiver wire is going to be a very busy place in fantasy circles this week. What did they say? Saquon's for sure out for the next 3 weeks.
I thought I heard 3 weeks at least. So you're looking at that.
What does the loss of Chubb do to the Browns? Big picture, like not fantasy, but just, I mean, he seemed to be such a massive part of that offense. And Deshaun, listen, he had his ups and downs. I said, we basically talked about how Pittsburgh's defense and those turnovers they created won that game for them.
Well, so how much you factor that into, because I wanted to have the Deshaun conversation today with you as well, so we can all kind of tie it together. But like, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan right now, knowing, and first of all, when they first gave him the contract they gave him, you're like, well, this is ridiculous. Anyway, I mean, outside of even seeing him play, you already knew the contract was ridiculous. If you're a Browns fan right now, they won in week 1. He wasn't spectacular by any stretch of the imagination in week 1. They have got this workhorse running back in Nick Chubb. Well, Nick Chubb's not going to be there anymore. We saw how Deshaun Watson looked against Pittsburgh. Maybe we credit that up to Pittsburgh's defense. It's such a week-to-week league. But if I'm a Cleveland Browns fan right now, Huss, I'm not overly confident in what I'm seeing at the quarterback position right now.
I agreed. I mean, I think it's still a work in progress. I mean, the guy played 5 games last season or 6 games after his 11 game suspension. And they do have some new pieces there with that club. We didn't even expect Amari Cooper to play last night. He ended up being
that pissed me off. I had him on the bench. A lot of people 2 leagues, man.
And he actually had a pretty solid game, going 7 for 90. Listen, Deshaun Watson is going to be good enough to keep them in games. He'll be good enough to win games. I'm not sure that he's going to be winning games on his own or being that difference maker that it's going to take them over the top. Well, frankly, in games like last night. Although, I mean, if you think about the strip sack and that bobbled pick that ended up going back on the first play of the game, he probably did play well enough to win that game, minus those 2 key plays. And, part of it is probably error on Deshaun's fault, but I think I give most of the credit to the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So, I mean, look, the Browns are 1-1. They're fine. I mean, Cincinnati's 0-2. Baltimore's in the driver's seat in that division at 2-0 right now. And I was in the car last night, going to a meeting for the at halftime of the first game. So I had the audio on of the Steelers Browns game in the car. Do you know that the Browns have not started 2-0 since 1993 when Bill Belichick was the head coach?
They were running the graphics for that on the broadcast. They're like, and here's the picture we used of Bill Belichick. It's, yeah. That's a long time without any sort of early season success, man. That's a tough one. Quickly, just sticking with last night's game or the games last night. I also want to give a shout out to the lock shoppers who hammered the partner parlay so quickly yesterday that the line moved significantly. And there was a little bit of a hiccup because it wasn't as low as it had gotten. But then Coolbet's like, yeah, no, this is where it's supposed to be at. And it had already moved. Like, what did it move yesterday? It went from plus 580, I think, when it came out, and it finished at plus 470. Yeah. So people were on it. So shout out to the lock shoppers.
And I'm just looking at it. Olave came through. Allen Robinson was one reception short. And then, of course, Nick Chubb got hurt. And then the minute Chubb was hurt, we kind of knew that was
he was going to have a TD. I mean, he was going to punch something in. So that was that was a tough one to swallow. But we'll bounce back on Thursday.
That was the only red on the card last night. I had the Steelers money line at plus 123. We had talked about that on the show a little later in the afternoon. I saw it, and it was down to plus 112. Obviously, the Saints and Panthers pushed. But yeah, Olave over 69.5, that came through. The field goal prop in the Browns Steelers at plus 125, that came through. And then I just loved it. The field goal frenzy, over 6.5 combined field goals for the two Monday nighters. Interesting Monday nighters next week. I know we've got lots of time to talk about that, but the 2-0 Bucks and the 2-0 Eagles going at it. And then you've got the 0-2 Bengals staring 0-3 in the face with the sort of upstart Rams, who are 1-1, but as Sean McVay will tell you, they're 2-0 against the spread.
Quick text, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Hey, guys, I was 2 yards shy of Najee Harris and hitting a big parlay. The absolute worst. That's in from Food Coma Drew today at the text line at 780-218-9999. 2 yards away from Najee Harris hitting a big parlay for him. You know who I thought looked okay last night, buddy, was your boy, Jaylen Warren, yep. Man. I liked what I saw. There's a good burst there with that guy.
He, listen, he got bottled up a few times, but I mean, to me, and Food Coma Drew, I apologize for saying this and sort of, kicking you when you're down. But Najee props are tough. I guess he did average 4.3 yards a carry, which I think for him is pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad.
Been the case as of late. But still just got those 10 carries. Where Warren really comes in and makes a difference is in the passing game. I mean, he had a 30-yarder. He had 4 catches for 66 yards. And I think that if he continues to do that, you're going to see, well, as I said, I've been predicting a split in that backfield, since before the season. And hey, listen, somebody could get hurt right away. We've seen the rash of injuries around. Valuable guy to have. And if you are a Harris owner, I would suggest trying to get Warren on your club, because at some point, I wouldn't at all be surprised if those responsibilities sort of flip and Warren gets a little bit more as we continue through the
or if there's an injury. I mean, you're laughing at that point with Warren if Najee ends up getting hurt. Hus, we'll get into the baseball game and stuff, but let me just quickly run you through the lines for week 3 and let me know if anything sort of immediately jumps off the page, like we have to get on it right now. Kind of like you were with the Seahawks last week, right? You liked them at 6, You got them at 6, and then they ended up moving all the way down to 4.5. So here are the lines right now. CoolBet, if you go to coolbet.com, they're the presenting sponsor of the Lock Shop. Use the code LOCKSHOP when you sign up. You get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. So if you deposit $200, your account will show $400. If you deposit $100, your account will show $200, and so forth and so forth. The Giants and the Niners, the Thursday nighter, the Niners 10.5-point favorites at home. I'll whip through all of them, and then we can kind of come back around. Ravens 8-point home favorites against the Colts. The Titans are 3-point dogs on the road in Cleveland. Atlanta 3-point dogs on the road in Detroit against the Lions. The Saints 2-point road dogs going into Green Bay. Jacksonville 9.5-point favorites at home against Houston. Miami 6.5-point favorites against Denver. That's interesting. The Vikings basically a pick 'em here. The spread's 0.5 point, Vikings and Chargers. with the Vikings being a slight dog at home. The Patriots, 3-point favorites on the road against the Jets. Bills, 6.5 on the road against Washington. Seattle, 6-point favorites at home against Carolina. Dallas, early in the week, minus 12 points on the road in Arizona. The Bears, plus 12.5 at Arrowhead to face the Chiefs. And then we got the Steelers, Raiders. That's a 1.5-point spread. Eagles, 5.5-point favorites on Monday night. And the Bengals looking to avoid 0-2, 2-point favorites. They open up here against the Rams. It's funny, even as I was whipping through there, you could probably tell by the way I said it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like there's 2 or 3 that I kind of jump off to me, Hus. But what do you look at here early in the week that might be some early movement for lock shoppers?
Well, first of all, a couple big lines. I mean, let's look at that. Chiefs, Bears. And the Chiefs, listen, I think everyone knows I'm a big Chiefs guy. The Chiefs are notorious for being in situations like this and, just sort of playing well enough to win, controlling the football. So I'm not surprised that went from 13 to 12.5 right away. And I think that might actually come down even a little bit more as the week continues. Not that the Bears have done anything to inspire much confidence in bettors right now. The Pittsburgh-Vegas game is kind of interesting to me with the Steelers being an underdog. I mean, listen, I know the Raiders went in and beat Denver, but we can talk about Denver for as far as like 0-2 at home with losses to the Raiders and the Commanders. Yikes, not a great start for Sean Payton's squad. And, the Steelers beat a good Browns team, and they got waxed by one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking about jumping on Pittsburgh right now, similarly to last night. I guess it is a short week, but with that defense, and again, like what, Raiders are going to have some big home field advantage? It'll be 70% Steelers fans in that game.
Sunday night or two, right? So, yeah.
Oh my God. All right. Well, in on that. Interesting to see the Seahawks laying 6 at home, although against Carolina, who as we've talked about, is going to have some growing pains with Bryce Young. Cowboys look unstoppable right now, and the Cardinals didn't want any part of a win on the weekend. They were up 21 in the third quarter and basically turned it off. Patriots, Jets. Patriots 3.5-point favorites. This is the sort of game that I actually think the Jets might be able to win with Zach Wilson in it. I'm certainly not jumping on it right now, and we'll kind of see how things shake out. But maybe the most interesting game of the entire one is this Chargers-Vikings, which is a straight-up pick 'em.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the money line, minus 109 on either side, and then they've just tweaked it, I guess. I mean, I guess it could be a tie. But, if you want to take the Vikes at minus 110 plus a half in case it ends in a tie, but that's really is a pick 'em. And I don't know. I mean, that's borderline loser leaves town match. Whoever loses this game is 0-3.
Well, what's really interesting about that one is it's by far the biggest total of the week, too. 54 points. I don't think anybody else is even over 48. Denver, Miami's at 48. That's it. This one's at 54. So people are expecting just an absolute air show between these two teams. That's a massive, massive number sitting at 54 when you look at the rest of the board this week.
Hey, here's a question, and I don't know. I have not seen any update on Anthony Richardson, but if he's out, and again, we know that he's got incredible talent, and listen, he had 2 early touchdowns in that game, and then unfortunately got knocked out of the game on a hit on his second touchdown. But like, I'm a Minshew guy. I think Minshew, like at least right now in these games, actually probably makes them a little bit more competitive. And I think that 8 number, if Minshew is the starter, might actually come down a little bit. The Ravens have looked pretty good so far. Obviously, they had that kind of slog against the Browns or the Bengals last week. But Indy plus 8 with Minshew might be a play for yours truly.
I like you riding Minshew, buddy. I back on our old show, we were huge Gardner Minshew guys. So I got a lot of time for Minshew's just steady. He really is. Like there's nothing spectacular about him, but he can manage teams to victories in games. in the National Football League. With that being said, I really like watching Richardson play too. I mean, if they can keep that guy healthy, he could be a stud. I can see. I know it was like a sort of like a 12-month sort of hype train for him leading up to the draft, but my goodness, you can certainly see why. Hey, he looks like a lot of fun.
Dude, he is one of the most the craziest athletes we've seen, like regardless of position, in a long time. And speaking of athletes, I know I basically gave Micah Parsons the DPOY yesterday on the program.
But
TJ Watt re-entered the chat last night. That's going to be a 2-horse race, I think. I guess maybe Nick Bosa could do something crazy, but really it does seem like those two guys. Already seen this. Already seen the Giants-Niners line move since we've been talking about it. It was 10.5. I'm seeing 10 right now. And this is the Thursday nighter. Do you not think that on Friday we could be talking about a Giants team that has basically played well for 1 quarter of 12, but sits at 1-2, right in the middle of the mix in that NFC East? Like, into San Francisco is not an easy place to play. And I mean, I guess they are staying out on the West Coast because they played in Arizona. They got the short week. They're going to go right to San Francisco. But there wasn't a lot. Like, I don't know how much can we take from potentially a season-saving comeback against the Cardinals.
Nothing.
Rallying with those 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's the thing. And we know San Francisco is top of the food chain right now.
Well, look what San Francisco did to Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh's defense last night looked like Pittsburgh's defense of old. And San Francisco sliced through them like they weren't even there. So San Francisco might be at another level entirely. So we'll see where that number settles in. We'll obviously have a Thursday Night Football preview episode on Thursday. Want to get to this quick text. It's a fantasy question that follows up with a nice little shout out to the Locks up here. Fantasy question. I'm in a deep 14-team half PPR dynasty league, 1 quarterback with 0 QBs on the waiver wire. John Wolford is of best available. I currently have Stafford. Would you give up a second for Allen or even a first next year? That's in for Beef Nips, who says, by the way, Daily Lock Shop might be my new favorite program with EST. Keep up the great work, guys. So that's nice. There's always DGens out there like us, right? They're going to absolutely love it. And if you have fantasy questions, fire them over here as well. Would you give up? So he has Stafford. Would you trade a second or a first for Josh Allen?
A second or a first?
One QB league. Yeah, 1 QB league.
Well, as long as this Puka guy is getting 15 catches a game, I don't know whether you really need to move off of Stafford. I mean,
I think in a dynasty league, I'd probably pull the trigger on it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, if you can keep him beyond. I mean, like, listen, I mean, our quarterback's going in the first or second round right now in your league as it is. I mean, I would say it's an overpay based on the position and where quarterbacks are normally drafted. But listen, I mean, you got to make decisions based on how your squad's looking, the rest of the landscape in your league. And if you think that getting Josh Allen is going to put you in the driver's seat to potentially win your league, I mean, I don't mind taking a swing and sacrificing a second-round pick the following season if you can get a guy like that. I mean, there are times to be aggressive, and if your squad calls for it, make the push in. You can't do much better than Josh Allen, even though I know we've had some he's had some ups and downs in the first game he was terrible, got back and looked a little bit more normal against the Raiders on Sunday.
I was just trying to bring it up because I traded for Josh Allen in a dynasty league. Now it's a super flex league though. It's my Uncle Rico league that I commish. I'm trying to see if this is a league where it's a super flex league and my 2 quarterbacks, buddy, are Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. So that's why I pulled the trigger on Josh Allen, because I was like, in what type of league can you actually have both Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen? Let me see.
How did you get them?
I drafted Patrick Mahomes in our straight up startup draft. And then let me just look. Yahoo's transactions are just a god awful mess. But let me see if I can, because I was talking to somebody about this trade yesterday, and I want to go back and see last year's. But I think Somebody told me I traded a first-round pick, Trevor Lawrence, and Jonathan Taylor to get Josh Allen. And I was like, man, that doesn't sound like me because I love Trevor Lawrence. But I think just having Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, who every single year have such a potential to be 1 and 2, I mean, I guess I had to pull the trigger on it. Plus, Jonathan Taylor was going through everything that he was going through, so I sort of moved him. But yeah, when you can, I'm in the driver's seat in that league right now, right? So it's nice to be able to say that once in a while, which is.
I'm waiting for some clarity as to what's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor. Things have been a little quiet. However, I did jump on Zach Moss in most leagues if I could get him. Paid a bit of a cost, through the fab budget. But he looked good. He looked good. And if he gets traded, I do think that he will be a very serviceable starting running back week in and week out, especially if Richardson comes back, because I think that's what they're missing right now. I mean, how much better would the rookie quarterback situation be if they had one of the top 3 running backs in the league in the backfield? I mean, that entire mess is not good for the development of their quarterback either. But I guess we'll see what happens over the next couple weeks. 4 games he's on the pup list, and then we'll see what happens come week 5.
I had a text message question here that came in 780-218-9999. Dusty, I'm very new to betting, and I have made a CoolBet account, but I'm not great at understanding how to navigate the site just yet. Have you guys considered throwing up a YouTube video how to navigate the site? I wanted to sprinkle money on the Oilers this year, but I'm a noob. And I mean, one of the things, first of all, I think CoolBet overall is a rather easy site to navigate. I mean, especially even on the app or on the mobile page, but on a desktop, I find it. No, I'm not a noob, right? So I could see why it would be difficult for some people, but I think my advice would be just familiarize yourself with the site. Like, you don't have to go on and bet on everything all the time. You can just go on, click on the NHL tab, and work your way through. And once the games pop up, you'll see the Oilers, and then you'll learn how to click the plus, and it takes you to all the other markets that they have. And a tutorial would be nice, but at the same time, Hus, I think you got to get a feel for it yourself, right?
Yeah, and you know what I mean? Especially if you've been using it on a mobile browser.
Yeah.
I would definitely suggest throwing it up on your desktop and kind of touring through it there. I mean, when you look, I mean, I've got it up on my desktop right now, and I'm looking at it. You'll see in the left margin, I mean, that's essentially all the categories, and the exclusives are right at the top. So if you're looking for the Lock Shop Partner Parlay or whatever we're putting together for that day, that's where you'll find it. But then you got baseball, NFL, CFL goes down. For instance, if you wanted to look for the Oilers and what some of those props are right now, click on that NHL tab, and then it'll come up NHL season bets for 2023-24. You get in on that, and now at this time of the year, there is a ton up there. I mean, there's many different bets. You got all these different player props, but just if you're thinking about the Oilers, you want them to win the cup or whatnot, you just click on winner, and then you've got odds for the cup winner and the Oilers. By the way, the Oilers have gone down a little bit, plus 850 at the Nasties. The Nasties have been moving.
Oh, they've almost caught. Wait a second here. Last time I looked, Colorado was the favorite.
Colorado's now 11-1.
Yeah.
And the new favorite is the Carolina Hurricanes at 8-1.
Whoa. Where did this come from?
Somebody come in with a massive, massive chunk on the Canes, in addition to all those Oiler bets right now. But yeah, Canes, Leafs, and Knights 12-1, Devils and Avs 11-1, Oilers plus 850, Canes plus 800, 8-1.
I looked at the top of those odds, and I just saw the C, and I thought, oh, that's still Colorado. And then I looked closer, and I was like, whoa, Carolina's the Stanley Cup favorite right now.
Huh. Should I be putting my entire life savings on Connor Bedard to win the Calder at minus 154?
Probably.
How is he not going to win that tournament?
Probably.
That trophy?
I mean, I look at I don't see how he doesn't win it. There's other good players there on that list that are going to be rookies that could have nice years. But I just don't. Connor Bedard is going to be, like some of these other guys, are going to be mixed in a little bit slower. Connor Bedard is his team's best player immediately and will be on the ice in every offensive situation imaginable. I don't know how. What do you think that number should be? It's at minus 154 right now.
I think it should be minus 200
At least. I would say probably minus
like
200 at least.
Like to put it into perspective, the other odds. So Luke Hughes is 7-1.
Phenomenal defenseman.
And then Logan Cooley and Devin Levy are 12-1. Brant Clark 16. Fantilli and Luke Evangelista 17-1. And then you got Shane Wright. Remember him? Shane Wright?
Barely.
Supposed to go number 1 overall last year. He and Matt Nyes 20-1 and David Yurchek at 25-1. Like, I have to think that by the time, I don't think these have been up that long. I have to think by the time we get to the regular season, it'll at least be minus 175. I guess the point is, if you do want to jump on Connor Bedard right now for the Calder Trophy, I mean, you do invest it. And you got to sit and wait for a long time.
Yeah, but you're not gonna get a better number, right? It's only gonna go the other way. So, yeah, I don't know if it opened at this or if it opened even lower and then it moved. Who knows?
Well, I thought it might have been there, but again, I think there's probably people that really haven't gotten to it yet. But trust me, they will get to Connor Bedard. And then the Hart Trophy is just hilarious. It's Connor McDavid versus the league. Connor's even money, just plus 100 to win the Hart. I mean, you could basically have Connor versus the rest of the league as just a prop, like plus 100 or minus 120 on the entire the field, if you will.
Rocket Richard's interesting. McDavid's plus 250. Matthews is 5-1. Pasternak 7-1, and Draisaitl is 7-1. That's a tough call this year.
Did McDavid win it last year?
Yeah, he scored over 60.
Yeah. But I think so did didn't Pasta?
Yeah. What did he hit 60 right on the nose? I'll double check on it. I'm pretty sure. I think he was right there. Let me double check. Man, he had a really nice year too, didn't he?
And Matthews had 60.
Yeah, he hit 61. Pasternak finished with 61. Now, before that in his career, he'd only scored more than 40 once. So just a monster year.
This is a spot that I might take a shot on some other guys. For instance, like maybe a Draisaitl. Like Connor showed everyone, yeah, I can score the most goals last year. I can do it all.
Man on a mission for a year. Now he wants to, start spreading it around a bit, playing better defense, helping his team win games more,
You know what? And I mean, let's face it. He and Leon are BFFs. He always likes setting things up. The points count for him too when Leon scores. So I don't know about that. 7-1 is tempting. That's for sure. And I mean, I have to fade Pasta, not because he's not still incredible, but with the firepower they lost at center, I don't know how easy it's going to be for Pasta to stay at that level right now. And obviously Austin Matthews, got to respect him at 5-1. He did have a 60-goal season the year before. No real strong favorites for the Vezina. We've got 3 guys at 6-1: Shesterkin, Sorokin, and Saros. Our guy Helly 7-1, Vasilevsky 7-1. Jake Ottinger at 11-1 is an interesting number. He's certainly a guy that gets all the starts in Dallas. I mean, he's not really sharing that, very much. So somehow I don't think Linus Ullmark's going back to back in the Vezina Trophy this year after that incredible season. Oh, and we got the divisions out.
Yeah,
too.
There's a bunch up now, man. The team point totals.
Oilers plus 180 to win the division.
That's a pretty good
Jets
number.
and Wild plus 725 to win the Central. I don't think I'll be hammering that, but interesting what the number is. And then Leafs plus 235 in the Atlantic. And but the Canes, the favorite right now, plus 475 to win the Eastern Conference. And Oilers plus 450 to win the Western Conference. I'm still thinking, Leafs. Toronto, Edmonton final. End of the world. The end of the world matchup.
The end of the world parlay. We set that up right now. Edmonton, Toronto, Stanley Cup final. Cool bet, Jake. You're watching. Let's set something like that up. Oilers, Leafs final. We want to bet that right now.
I'm sure very soon there will be an option for exact matchups.
Exact final,
for the Cup final. Either that or just parlaying what would be the Oilers to win the West and the Leafs. Where's the East? The Leafs to win the So it's a parlay. It's not allowed, but it's 44 plus 450 and plus 725 on a parlay would be plus 44. So, I mean, 40 to 1, 45 to 1 on that.
We'll take it. Give it to us.
Listen, absolutely. I think both of those teams are live. Speaking of Toronto.
Yes, let's get to it, buddy.
Let's get to this baseball game tonight because it's so funny. I was talking yesterday. I mean, we were basically reading and writing eulogies for the Jays on Friday's episode of WST. I know we didn't spend too much time talking about it on the Lock Shop because we were so locked in on the Friday football. But I mean, an embarrassing sweep at the hands of the Rangers. It really did look like they were, I don't want to say done, but, falling right out of it. They sweep Boston, Texas and Seattle both get swept. And now, as we go into tonight's action, the Jays are in a playoff spot and actually are in the second playoff spot, one game up on both Texas and Seattle. And as we look at these games, I mean, as much as we look at the Jays-Yankees matchup tonight in New York, what do we have for Seattle and what do we have for Texas? Texas is at home against the Boston Red Sox. And the Mariners.
Yeah, they're into a set with the A's. Yeah.
So you got to keep winning.
Well, it's amazing that it shifted so quickly again. Like very rarely. I mean, absolutely everything had to go right. Both the teams they were trying to track down got swept. They picked up the sweep. I mean, that is insanely rare for that to happen. That's insanely rare for it to happen if you're chasing one team and for them to get swept and you sweep somebody. But two of the teams that you're in a battle for end up getting swept right after you got swept and you were trying to bounce back. It's almost meant to be. It's a sign, buddy. The Toronto Blue Jays are going to go on a heater here down the stretch.
Well, speaking of bouncing back, my guy Kikuchi's on the mound, and I know he's going to want to bounce back. I mean, listen, he got absolutely no run support last week, so I don't know if it really mattered if he gave up 4 or 6 runs or whatever it is. But, man, they need a great start from him. I mean, a win to start off this series would be absolutely huge for the Jays. And his props right now, and I'm going to pull this up because we just get to his game splits. 5.5 is the strikeout number for Kikuchi tonight. The earned runs is 2.5. We've also got hits allowed 4.5. What about the pitching outs? See, pitching outs is 14.5, but geez, it's minus 182. Surprised it wasn't, a more reasonable number, but at 15.5 or 16.5. But that last game was a tough one. He took the loss. He went 5 innings. He gave up 6 earned runs. He gave up 2 homers, struck out 3, walked 2. But as I said before that, his strikeout prop 8.6, 8.6, 7.6, and his strikeout number is 5.5 at minus 135. I mean, if you want to think that was a blip last week with that one game against Texas, I mean, he'd hit 6 or more strikeouts in 6 straight before then. I don't mind that number at minus 135. And at Yankee Stadium in that little bandbox, I mean, you need to strike some guys out because a lot of just contact pop flies go out of the yard in the Yankee Stadium as opposed to more legitimate ballparks around the majors.
Do the Yankees end up ruining this for the Blue Jays, do you think? Like the Yankees have had enough turmoil this season themselves, right? Like just go away right now in New York. Step aside.
76-74, 4th in the AL East.
And they play them twice. They get 2 sets against them, right?
Holy smokes. The rest of the Jays.
Yeah.
It's Yankees, at Rays, home to the Yankees, home to the Rays.
And that's it.
Oh, they got to win these games against New York.
Now, the Rangers play Seattle 7 times or something like that. So they're going head-to-head quite a bit down the stretch. So if one of those teams is able to roll over the other one, then that helps the Blue Jays. If they split them with the way the Jays are at right now, not the end of the world. So I think the Jays are in a pretty good spot, but it'd be nice. You got to take care of business against the Yankees at least.
So how many games do they have left? They have 1, 2, 3.
Jake's in the YouTube
6,
chat right now saying the magic number is 8. How many games do they got left? 12?
12.
So they got to win 8 of 12.
I guess the magic number is 8, and that makes sense because
turning.
of how many head-to-head games there are between Texas and Seattle.
Yeah, that's why. So
they got to take care of their own business. I mean, if you can be better than 500 down the stretch, like
if your magic number's 8, if you can win 6 of 12, odds are you're going to get some help along the way, considering the way things are structured. So
it is really, really weird that we're talking about 3 teams for 2 spots, and there's 7 head-to-head matchups between one of those. This wouldn't even be an issue, of course, if they had just gotten 2 wins against Texas last week. So I'm going to need to figure out something with Kikuchi, I think, for the
play of the day.
For the play of the day, coming off a double hit on the play of the day yesterday.
Beautiful.
2 times. Well, Monday Night Football, which is nice because my weekly plays of the day had been lacking, shall we say, in the last couple of weeks where it was on me. So it was nice to get it. What do we got for Bo Bichette? Total bases plus 110 for over 1.5. Wouldn't mind seeing Bo get going again. But yeah, big slate of games tonight in the majors. The big one, of course, Jays and Yankees. That one's starting at 6 o'clock here. Man, those games start earlier, 5 o'clock out in Edmonton.
Yeah, that's how it always is, man.
East Coast game, Central time zone, best sports viewing time zone, without a doubt.
Yeah, it probably will. I like our time zone. I mean, I think we're in a pretty good spot, but you like that Central time zone.
You do a morning show.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're right. That changes a lot now that I'm back getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning again. Hey, I want to play this game in the Canadian Football League before we wrap up, and I'll do a little Fantasy Football 5 here coming up. If you have any fantasy football questions, hit us up, 780-218-9999, or in the YouTube chat right now, and I'll get to some of those here. We'll take a look at some early waiver wire stuff for Week 3. Hus, here are the 4 CFL games this week. I want you to guess what the line would be. Like, what would you set it at? And then we can kind of see where it comes in, because they're not. I don't think CFL's posted yet. BC Lions on the road in Edmonton Friday night.
BC -3.
Okay. Riders and Red Blacks in Ottawa, also Friday night.
Saskatchewan -2.
Okay. I was going to say 2.5. And then Saturday, Montreal's in Calgary Saturday afternoon.
Montreal is in Calgary Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Calgary -3.
Okay. And then the Ticats and the Argos in the final game of the week on Saturday evening.
In Toronto?
It is in Toronto.
Argos 9.5.
9.5. Ooh. I mean, it probably makes sense. I thought it was going to be more, just over a touchdown. I mean, 9.5. Well, yeah, that's pretty big.
Let's see. Actually, let's see if
are they up?
We've got them up here.
I don't know. I didn't see them.
Oh, they are up here.
Are they?
They are up right now. Okay,
they are
let's
up.
see how close I was. So Saskatchewan -1.5 in Ottawa.
Okay, so you were close.
That was very close. BC laying 7.5.
And you said 3.
I said 3. I'll be taking Edmonton
plus 7.5.
game.
That I bet you that moves.
And what did I say? Calgary -3. Whoa, the Alouettes are favored in Calgary.
By how much?
Montreal -2.
Ooh, I could get on Calgary there.
I'm definitely getting Calgary money line plus 115 right now. And then I was close on that last game. It's a 10 spot. Argos laying 10 against the Hamilton
so you were close
Tiger
on that
Cat.
one. Yeah, this was a fun game because now right away we're like, okay, we're on Edmonton and Calgary right now. Like,
well, listen, that is a great way, and for folks that, for instance, when you're thinking about, where am I gonna sprinkle in the NFL this weekend? A great exercise is don't look at the lines. Do exactly what we just did and kind of handicap these games yourselves and then go and check the lines. And if you see, like, for instance, I thought BC would be 3-point favorites. Well, BC's 7.5-point favorites. So that's a great spot to get in. I mean, if you're like me and you think that game should be a lot closer, tells you very quickly where you might want to throw down. So yeah, Edmonton plus 7.5.
We have to remember Edmonton has not scored a point in 2 games against the Lions this year. But Edmonton's offense, that was with McAdoo and Cornelius. Ford is different. It's a completely different team, right? So if that's going to be a touchdown or more, man, I'm going to have to probably get on that one, especially with the way BC's played as of late. They lost at Hamilton to home. They should have lost to Ottawa. It was a miracle that they came back there. These are not great teams. I mean, Edmonton, CFL Power Ranking says Edmonton is the 4th best team in the league right now. So that's a pretty big number.
Dusty, I'm just looking at this right now, and I was saying, I'm going to take Edmonton plus 7.5 and Calgary plus 2. How about Elks money line, Stamps money line plus 674?
Oh boy.
I could see there'll be a lot of Bomber fans cheering for the Elks this week to get that win over BC.
A little bit of a cushion.
Well, after the Red Blacks blew that lead on Saturday night, I mean, all of a sudden we're right there. Bombers have the bye week right now, so they'll just be watching. But play of the week right now, Elks plus 7.5. That is going to be a very, very close game. And as they say, I think Edmonton is live to win every game that they play, including the one here in Winnipeg in late October. I mean, we'll see where the Bombers are at that point and how much that game means. I believe they have that one, and then they finish up in Calgary. So, I mean, there'll still be work to be done as the Bombers try to clinch the West. And for folks like Cowboy and myself, trying to get that plus 200 on the 13 to 15 wins prop, got to go 3 of 4 in the final games. But we'll find out a lot next Friday when the Argos come here for that Grey Cup rematch. And then, of course, the big game in BC on the 6th of October.
Hus, what's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk today, buddy?
A lot of Jet stuff today. Training camp's just about to start. We'll recap the prospects tournament. Jamie Thomas, the commissioner, Jamie
JT.
Thomas, was out in Penticton, so he's going to jump on with us. We'll kind of talk about all the big stories heading into training camp with Mike McIntyre, the Winnipeg Free Press, and we will talk some NFL. And our buddy Andy McNamara is going to come on. We might need to console him because he is a big Browns guy.
Fan, yeah.
Losing to the Steelers is going to have him in a terrible mood, and losing Nick Chubb will also be a challenge. So we're going to talk about some of the winners and losers from week 2 in the National Football League and certainly get his perspective on what happened last night in Monday Night Football. So should be a lot of fun. Today's Tuesday. I guess tomorrow we can start getting into, as I say, I'm making a CFL bet today. I'm not waiting on this one because I do think that number is going to come down. We will see. But yeah, and focusing on this Blue Jays game tonight and trying to figure out what the daily play, which will be firing up on the CoolBet socials a little later on. Make sure you're following at CoolBet Canada on Twitter and on on X and on Instagram. And well, hopefully we started off 2-0 on a Monday. It doesn't get much better than that. So hopefully we can get another winner for you.
Hey, somebody's in quickly on the YouTube chat and says, guys, I'm loving this. It reminds me of the old warm-up show. That's what you did, right? Wasn't it called the warm-up or whatever?
Yeah. Listen, the warm-up in a lot of ways is the genesis of WST, because that was when I'd have Remus in. But then, my boy Nick Ziff would come on, and that was the one place where they gave me full range to talk about the most degen topics at all, point spreads, betting, parlays, all that. Couldn't squeeze it enough into the afternoon ride, but it was a great little oasis in the middle of the day on the old station. So let this be exactly that. This is it's a lot of fun. Loving the fact that we're opening up, and we'll see if we can figure something out and get this sucker on the WST feed as well heading into. But first things first, want to make sure that everything's on. The lights are on there at EST, and congrats, by the way, though. I've been paying attention to what you guys have done. Just a couple weeks in. I mean, it seems to be running real smoothly and continuing to grow, and people are really loving having the boys back every day, especially in the morning.
Yeah, a few hiccups along the way, man, but I think overall we're pretty happy with how it's going so far. So you have a good show today, Hus, and we'll catch up tomorrow, buddy. I saw the competitive eating. You see the competitive eating?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? We'll get some Joey Chestnut props, and just remember, I am one of the 200 people on the planet that's followed by Joey Chestnut. My greatest achievement in social media. I should change that. I should just change my bio to followed by Joey Chestnut. Everything else is secondary.
All right, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good show.
Take it easy, guys.
There you go. That is awesome. Winnipeg Sports Talk. Do what we do around here when we wrap up Oil Stream or two, guys. We just throw Winnipeg Sports Talk on at the office and sit back and chill. Let's get into the Fantasy Football 5. All right, here we go. Fantasy Football 5 brought to you by Century Casino Fort Road, Sports Bar and Lounge. If you have any fantasy football questions, obviously another week on the waiver wire is going to be a busy day depending on how many leagues you're in. I've dialed the leagues back a little bit this year, mostly because I forgot to register for them and forgot about the draft and become a horrible general manager in a few of those leagues. The leagues that I am still locked into, obviously I care very much about, but still I have a hard time sometimes remembering to get to waivers in all of them. But we're going to get into the waiver wire a little bit. If you have any fantasy football questions, so hit us up in the YouTube chat or on the text line, 780-218-9999, Fantasy Football 5. Only goes to like 5 to 10 minutes, so you have to move quickly on this if you want to get in. I think I saw a question a little bit earlier on when we were doing Lock Shop today, and we'll get to that. That's from Jake, actually, from CoolBet, so we'll get into that here on the Fantasy Football 5 today. And like I said, brought to you by the Sports Bar and Lounge at Century Casino on Fort Road, where Eric will be. Edmonton Sports Talk will be every Monday and Thursday throughout the entire NFL season. We're not rotating around to different locations. You don't need to have like GPS on your phone or car to find where we're at every single week. Every single week, Monday and Thursday, Lieutenant Eric is locked in at the Century Casino on Fort Road as we continue to build up their NFL presence and build up our NFL presence together, and they're the presenting sponsor of the Fantasy Football 5. Jake, thoughts on selling high on Jerome Ford in case the Browns bring someone in, or do we see him remaining the lead back behind that great offensive line? That's a risk that you're simply going to have to take as you hit the waiver wire. Now, in a regular league where you're just waiver wire priority or based on the standings this past week, I mean, Ford has to be the number one guy. In a fab league, it's a little bit different because how much do you want to spend with the worry that you're not going to get those dollars back for your fab budget if indeed they do bring in somebody else. I mean, the first thing that I thought of, and there's a couple running backs still out there, but the first thing I thought of, and I'm not entirely sure it makes sense, but it seems like it would be easy, would be Kareem Hunt. Like, Kareem Hunt's not on a roster anywhere. Kareem Hunt knows the Cleveland Browns offense. I'm not exactly sure where he factors in here, but Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette is still out there as well. I think Kenyon Drake might be a free agent. Darrell Henderson, who was with the Rams last couple years, I'm not too sure where he is right now. So in a non-fab league, your number one claim is Jerome Ford. He rushed for over 100 yards. They do have a great offensive line. He's not Nick Chubb. I wouldn't go into it with those types of expectations. But there is the threat. There is the threat of Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt, or somebody. And if nothing is moved by Thursday, we'll have Ian Rappaport on, one of the best NFL insiders in the biz. He'll be on the Nielsen show at 7:45 every Thursday morning, all NFL season. And you can listen to that. And I'm sure we'll have some sort of answer on what they're going to do at running back by then. But if you're just straight up old classic waivers, Ford's got to be the number one claim. Fab, that's going to come down how much risk you want to have if somebody does come in. I would think with what we've seen in the NFL in the past, this is why these other free agents are still out there, right? You see the retreads. It's like an NHL coaching cycle. These guys are always going to come back. They're always going to get another opportunity. And in a couple of these situations, these guys actually might be able to do relatively well. So, yeah, that's a good one. Wayne Bretsky 99 says Isaiah Pacheco or Jerome Ford going forward. I mean, I would still say Pacheco just because of the threat of something else happening in the Cleveland backfield. If nothing else did happen in the Cleveland backfield, then yeah, you're probably okay rolling with Jerome Ford. It's so early to make these like season-changing decisions, but you're in a pretty tough spot. Jones Jr. or Breda, who should be prioritized first? I did like what I saw from Jones Jr. I'm not going to lie. I probably would go there. Uchaz says, further to yesterday, Olave for Evans / Mostert. My running backs are Gibbs, Cook, Hubbard, and Deion Jackson. I've got a couple of waiver claims in, pending with Jackson and Cook being dropped, but what say you? Gibbs, with Montgomery out now, he should eat. If this is just a one-off league, with the way that Baker Mayfield's at least looking like serviceable, you probably pull the trigger on that. But you have to know that Mostert will get hurt somewhere along the way. This comes from a bitter Mostert owner who has basically had seasons ruined time and time again because of him. As far as a couple other guys on the waiver wire, Rashawn Johnson continues to get a pretty significant look now. He's not going to come in and win you your league, but if you're desperate for a running back, in fact, I dropped this guy. I drafted him, and then I dropped him prior because I didn't draft a defense, and I was like, well, I have to have a defense. I look back on it now. I should have dropped one of my wide receivers. It was a mistake. Tank Dell is another guy that you might want to start looking at. I think he was double-digit targets this week. And in Houston, I don't mind what you're seeing from C.J. Stroud. They got Nico Collins, who I think is that number one target, but looks like there'll be some value in Tank Dell the rest of the way as well. And another guy we saw on Monday night, Pat was on him on the cool bet. Rashid Shaheed is a guy who looks like he could eventually. Michael Thomas made that one great catch. That was pretty good last night, but I think first of all, you can't rely on Michael Thomas to stay healthy. And you've got Olave on one side, so things could kind of be open for Shaheed as well. So that would be a guy that you would look at. Early sort of waiver wire thoughts here as we head into week 3. But anytime you have a question, let me just double check, be sure we're not leaving anything behind. Let's get to this one quickly. I like this. I joined 5 leagues this year. It is a lot to manage with the wire. Do you have any tips? I mean, prioritize. Highest value to least value, but anything else. I mean, once you put yourselves in these situations, like I have been over and over. Like last year, I think I had to go through 16 different waiver wires every single week. And you're gonna miss some things. You're gonna forget about a league every once in a while. 5 is completely manageable. I would prioritize the league in general on which one is your largest entry fee, which one can you win the most, which one are you in with maybe some of your good buddies and you want to beat those buggers anyway. So that's probably how I would prioritize that. But that's going to do it for the Fantasy Football 5. If you are watching right now, make sure you subscribe. It's an easy little listen. It's like 5 to 10 minutes. You can pop it on at night. You can pop it on your way home from work if you're looking for something good to listen to. You can get that taken care of as well. Fantasy Football 5 on all of your podcasting platforms. 2 guys and a goalie coming up here at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Cass and Gager will join myself. Oilers training camp opens tomorrow. We'll get into a lot of that. We're going to try to once again redirect you from the lock shop and the Fantasy Football 5 over to 2 guys and a goalie. So make sure you stick around, and we're going to continue our top 50. We've already checked the box off on 50 through 31. We're going to go from 30 down to 21 today as we continue to look at the top 50 players that we would build a team around as of right now for the future. So we're going to get into that coming up on 2 guys and a goalie today. And once again, thank you to Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, Fort Road, for being the presenting sponsor of the Fantasy Football 5. We'll talk to you tomorrow.